Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Cribl user group, global user group meeting for May 14th. Welcome, everybody. And we were just talking about the weather. Actually, we've talked about nothing consequential here for the last 5 minutes, but that's okay, because that's what we do. Sometimes we talk about Cribl. Sometimes we talk about, the weather, because everybody has weather somewhere near them. All right, and I do seem like folks have stopped wandering in so bright, so let's go ahead and get this started. Which order do we want to do this in first? Do we want to do our
Want to do Ben? We'll do Ben and then we'll do Mike.
So first thing we got is Ben Marcus demoing the new Syslog source load balancing option. And then stick around though, because we're going to have some talk about CriblCon coming up after he is done. So time for the technical difficulties. Ben, do you want to try to steal control and start chatting?
Yeah, thanks, Rich. Hi, everybody. For those that don't know me, my name is Ben Marcus. I'm one of the product managers here at Cribl. Glad to be here today and give you a demonstration of the new Syslog source TCP load balancing option we released in the last version last month, 4.6.0. So what I'll do, let me just talk briefly about the feature, and then I'll actually kind of give a live demo and then take some questions. But before I do that, I just kind of want to take a quick poll, not an official poll, but just if you're using this feature, if you're familiar with this feature, maybe just put something in the chat or just shout out. Just kind of want to get a sense of who's used it or who's played with it, who's familiar with it, or if this is like totally new, have no idea what this feature is.
I think quite a few people have heard of it. Nobody said they're using it yet.
Okay. Okay, great. Yep, seeing some responses, heard of it, new, yep.
Not using it, yeah, so, ooh, look at there. Oh, Jay Adler, yeah, fine. We know you're all doing all kinds of fancy stuff.
Great. Okay. Well, thanks for the feedback. Looks like we got a mix of responses, which is kind of what I expected. Okay. So what is this feature? So let me just talk to it for a moment. So we have a lot of customers who want to send high volume syslog data to Cribl, especially coming from appliances such as Palo Alto's or Blue Coat, Zscaler, Checkpoint. And these appliances can send data via syslog protocol, and they're very, very high volume traffic producers. And typically what they will do is send their data over a single TCP socket to Cribl. And what we found was that these devices will open a connection to the syslog receiver, in this case stream, and have a single long-lasting socket where it just keeps pumping the data out until that socket is essentially closed. And what we wanted to do for our customers is improve throughput. So really, what we were seeing was that the data would come in to Cribl and sort of get pinned to the first worker process that the connection was established to. So let's say you had, a 16-core box or 32-core box, and you'd have all these cores on the box, but the appliance would be sending data, and all that data would sort of be pinned or stuck on the first worker process that received the data. So you'd have many worker processes sitting idle, one worker process totally saturated due to the high volume data, and then that would create some bottlenecks. So Cribl, we're always looking at improving throughput, getting more data through, and that's what this feature was designed for. How can we improve the throughput for these large volume senders for syslog specifically? So let me go ahead and kind of give you a live demo of what we did and then talk about the feature and then dive into a little bit how it works under the hood. All right, let me share my screen here. All right, are you able to see the Cribl instance here? Looks good.
Yep.
Okay. So basically what I have set up is a distributed environment, and let me go directly into the source. And on this source, I have two syslog inputs, one traditional, just stock default input listening on 9514. And then I have another input listening on TCP 9515. And under the 9515, you'll see there's this new optional toggle for syslog source called enable TCP load balancing. And so this is the feature. So again, this is a new optional toggle you could turn on. It specifically only applies to syslog source, and it only applies to TCP. And when you turn this on, what will happen, and I'll demonstrate this in a moment, is when the worker node starts, it will fork a special new process called the load balancer process. And that process will receive all the incoming syslog data, and then it will round robin that syslog data to all the other worker processes on the host. So that's what happens when you turn this on. There's a new worker process that's forked, and its job is to essentially just receive the data and then send it to all the other worker processes on the box. So I'll run some quick tests here. I have a little generator script, and I'm going to send some syslog data to Cribl, first on 9514. So that's without the load balancing, and then we'll compare with the load balancing. And spoiler alert, because I ran this in the last 30 minutes, you can kind of already see the differences with the load balancing and without the load balancing. But let's run the test again right now. I'm going to start up my generator script. It's going to send some syslog data for about 95 seconds or so, and we'll see the data come in, and then we'll run the test again, and same data, and we'll see the improved throughput. So we'll just kind of give it a minute here to start up. One way that you could kind of see this effect is if you teleport to the nodes, and you can see here, for example, I have 4 regular worker processes. You'll also see the new load balancer process. One thing that you'll see happening without this feature is that the data comes in, and you can see in this case, worker 3 is the one that happens to be receiving the incoming data, and it is saturated. The CPU is hitting 100%, whereas these other worker processes, less than 1, less than 1, less than 1. So you could see the pinning effect happening here without the feature. So all the data is going to worker 3, and it's sort of getting stuck and completely saturated. So that's one way of observing the effect without the load balancing. So let's see, you've got about 35 seconds left here. The data is still coming in. You can still see it's saturated. By the way, you will see the new load balancer process here as well. And you can monitor what PID it is and see the load balancer processing. So here, the data stream is just about finishing. You can see it's still all coming into worker 3. The other ones are sitting idle. Let's go back in our main monitoring page, kind of see how it looks. See, we can like update this to the last 15 minutes. So we peaked out around 3. Sort of you could kind of see the peak here of events. And let's run it again with the load balancing enabled. Let's just check here. I just want to check the port is enabled. 9515. Yep. All right. Let's take a look again and see. So we peaked around 325. Yep. All right. That's consistent with the run I did about 30 minutes ago. And now I'm going to run it again, but this time send it through the syslog source that has the load balancer enabled. Let me kick off my script. All right. And it is starting up. Let's take a look again, and we can also observe, this will take us a minute or so to update, but we'll be able to observe that 1, the data is coming in through the load balancer, and 2, that all the worker processes will be picking up the data. So let me kick off that script for a second. And we'll see that live in action. Monitoring, let's check the load here. Okay, script is now running. And let's see what's happening. Yep, okay, there we go. So the data is coming in. You can see it's coming in through the load balancer process. And look what's happening here. Now, this time, all the workers are getting a share of the data. So we know it is round robining the data across all the worker nodes. We'll let the script run about 40 more seconds, and then we'll compare the results on the monitoring page. But bottom line is, we see good throughput improvement with this turned on. A couple of things while this test is finishing here. I'll note, this is for stream. It's specifically for distributed environments only. And it is only for syslog data coming in via TCP source. All right, okay, so test completed here. Let's take a look back over on the monitoring page and kind of see how we did. Let's adjust the time. And so you could see with and without the data. Oh, sorry, let's reload this here. 15 minutes. Sort of surprised why it went down. Let me see if I changed the right port. But we did get, according to my script, we got double the throughput. Normally, this would show the increase here, 186. Let me just run it one more time. Make sure the right port, 9515. Oh, yeah, there we go. Okay, so with the load balancing, we got up to 530 events coming through, and without the load balancing, 325. Couple other things I'll mention about this is on your worker group, this will help if you have a core available or you have CPU available for the new load balancer process. There's a maximum of one load balancer process that will be started on each worker node, and that will be used by all or as many syslog sources as you have configured that use the new load balancing option. But there's only going to be a new one load balancer process. That special load balancer process does emit logs. So if you're monitoring the Cribl logs, just like all the other worker processes, there will be logs for it as well. In addition, there are a couple of new metrics, and they are documented on the Cribl docs site under this new feature. But there's some special new metrics emitted specifically around the load balancer process as well. So you can kind of monitor that as well. So there are logs, there are metrics to this new process. There's only one that's forked, and it is used by any syslog source that has that on. But what I wanted to mention here was something you may want to consider is, say you have a 16-core, 32-core type host, where as long as you have available CPU to run the load balancer process, you'll be fine. But what you may want to do in some cases is consider changing the process count from -2 to, say, -3. That would leave one core free specifically for the load balancer worker process. So it just sort of depends how much headroom you already have on the box, or if maybe you need to have some additional room. But you do want to have some CPU cycles for that new process that will always be there receiving the syslog data when you turn this on. It is an optional toggle, but if you want to use this, we are seeing very good results. I've spoken with 7 or 8 customers since we released this feature last month that are using it in production. And so far, all of them have reported good improvement and results so far. I will also mention under monitoring as well, if you go under logs, like I say, we do have logs for this. If you go to your worker node, this load balancer process is here as well. And you can kind of see the logs directly from within Cribl here too. So that's why we developed a feature, kind of what it does, live demo about it. Under the hood, how does this work? Well, it essentially uses inter-process communication when all of the individual worker processes have an IPC socket that connects to the load balancer process, and that load balancer process just hands off data to all the other worker processes. But it uses inter-process communication sort of under the hood. And if you look in the state directory, if you have CLI access on a worker node, you'll see there's some symlink sockets for every worker process to the load balancer process that are created. You don't have to do anything. Those are created automatically by Cribl. But that's kind of what it's doing under the hood using inter-process communication to just round robin all the data.
What's up, Charles?
Was there a question?
There's a couple of questions in the meeting or in the chat.
All right, let me open the chat and see what type of questions here.
Yeah, if you want to go ahead and look at those then, or I can read them to you, whichever way.
I see them now. Okay, so any plans to extend the TCP load balancer to other type of data? So yes, so we've addressed this for Syslog, which was one area where we saw we needed some improvements. And we're looking next to see how we can improve Cribl TCP to Cribl TCP. So for example, if you're sending from one worker group to a second worker group and you're using Cribl TCP, we also see some similar pinning happening. So we're looking to address that next. With that solution, however, because we can control the protocol of both the sender and the receiver, we think we can come up with a way to better distribute the data without having everything go through the load balancer process. So we'll have a slightly different solution, but we are going after that next Cribl TCP to Cribl TCP. Let's see. Another question, you referenced distributed. What if there are multiple worker nodes? Okay, so this solution helps balance data among worker processes on a worker node. If you have a push-based source, such as Syslog, you'll still want to have some external load balancer, like a F5 or, there's many solutions out there, but that will distribute that data among the worker nodes themselves. So this feature does not replace an external load balancer to worker nodes. This just helps balance the data within a worker node to all the worker processes. Downside is that, yes, there is a new process forked, so it will use a core. There is some additional overhead to managing the extra process, but in general, we see when Syslog TCP data is coming in, we do see much higher throughput. But it is optional, and we give you the choice. So you could turn it on if you want to use it, and if you don't want to use it, the default is off, just as in past releases.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
So I want to make sure I understand the case where we would use it. This is when we have a client, a Syslog client that is sending a lot of data, and not really when we have many clients sending a little bit of Syslog data. If I have Syslog data coming from every server, there are different clients, different connections. It's not a single connection. If I have Palo Alto, which is probably a single firewall sending me a ton of data, that's where I would use it. Am I correct?
Yes, yes. What we were saying is the high volume, long-lived single sender appliances that just open one socket and keep that open and send data kind of forever. This solution will help in that case.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
That's what it was designed for. Yes, you got it. Let's see. How would I scale against enterprise grade load balancing or volume only? Well, if your system is able to handle the data today and you're not seeing any backups, then you don't need to turn this on. But in general, this will help with any TCP syslog data coming in where it's high volume and you want to get better distribution among your worker nodes and overall higher throughput. But again, it's not meant to replace an external load balancer that balances the data among all the worker nodes themselves. This is just for getting better utilization across all the worker processes on a node. I've 30, just going to the next question in the chat. I have 32 CPUs, 30 worker processes. Should adjust the worker process. Yes, I mentioned that. If your CPUs are sort of maxed out already, then what you may want to do is change the n-2 to n-3, and then that will leave a core sort of free for the load balancer process. Or if you have a virtualized environment, you could do the same thing, but add one more core to the box as well to give some headroom for the load balancer process. But yeah, you'll need to take a look to see, you know, if you have a core available or how busy your worker nodes already are. Let's see, did I get all of the questions? Why not UDP? Yep, looks like it's already answered in the question. So with UDP, it's sessionless. So the data comes in and generally will go to different worker processes. We haven't seen that sort of pinning that happens with TCP, where it's a long-lived connection and actually has a session.
We got it. I'm okay.
Right.
Any other questions?
Sounds like no. I mean, here we go. Is there a way to see how a specific source is being balanced across the worker process on the node? Processes on a node.
So you can't tell a specific source from the monitoring console, but if you teleport, kind of you could see the data distribution from the CPU load is a good indicator. Or another way is if you put some internal fields on the data, you can track the worker process for each event. And then if you're sending that to, say, a downstream destination, you can see how the data that came through was distributed and which worker processes or worker nodes handled that data. So that's another technique I've seen. And if everything is sort of coming to one worker node and one worker process, then you can consider turning this on.
Perfect.
One last thing I'll mention, we did test this on a 92 core worker process box, and we had a customer as well with that setup, and they did turn this on and saw improved results, I think specifically with Blue Coat.
Cool. All right, thanks, Ben. Can you hang out on Slack for, or at least check it occasionally for just a little while in case somebody has some more questions real quick?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm going to have to drop off for another call in 5 minutes, but as always, reach out if there's more questions. Feel free to Slack me, and I will take a look as well in a bit and see if there's anything else that comes up. But always accessible via Slack. And thanks so much for having me here.
Great, absolutely. Thanks, Ben. Yeah, that was interesting. I can really appreciate getting these kinds of enterprise grade features shoved into the system now. And yeah, that's a good implementation. So I believe this moves us on to some talk about CriblCon from Mike.
What's up?
Hey.
CriblCon.
Yeah, wait. That means I gotta get.
So, he's getting something. Now I'm excited. Good thing Rich decided to wear pants today, because if he'd gotten up,
Oh yeah.
Once.
I don't know these people who don't wear pants. Like, just put pants on. Seriously, it's not that hard. Even just decent sweatpants is fine. Anyway, yeah, I just wear pants. It's good.
That's good. That's a good choice. Good life choices. Awesome. Let me just share real quick. I have one slide, and maybe something else. We'll see. But yeah, so for folks who don't know, if this is your first time or if you haven't seen my face or Bashir's face or this hat on LinkedIn, CriblCon is on June 10th in Las Vegas. That's right, sunny, blistering hot Las Vegas, but not as hot as last year because it was in June or July last year. We are going back to Las Vegas. We will be at Caesars. As I talk about this, you can see the URL is pretty simple, criblcon.cribl.io. You can follow along, you can lead this presentation, and you can basically just stop thinking about me. But it's gonna be a kick-ass event. Well, there's gonna be a kick-ass keynote. The event itself is gonna be amazing. We have over 10 breakout sessions. We have 5 hands-on lab sessions. That means for folks, obviously, if you're in the user community right now, you love to get your hands on the keyboards. So we are actually bringing those keyboards well, no, you bring your own keyboard. BYOK, I guess that's what it is. To the event. We are bringing a bunch of experts. This is not a typical, hey, there's a bunch of people that are going to try to sell you stuff type of conference. We try really freaking hard to make sure that we have technical experts there so that we can answer technical questions. We can come up with technical solutions to the challenges that you're seeing. We are bringing, I think we actually might have more than 14 sponsor stations. So our integration partners or alliance partners, sorry, TAP partners will be there. That's like saying an ATM machine, sorry. Well, I guess program partners, different. I just had a lot of coffee, so I'm speaking real fast. Chris is going to tell me to slow the fuck down. Oh, sorry, that's terrible. I will put some money in the jar. Yeah, we have a bunch of technical content that'll be shared. Our presenters are folks that are also in this user community, or if they aren't, they will join the user community because they are the folks that put their hands on the keyboard. So we have, it kind of breaks out into 2 tracks. One that's going to be security focused, one that's going to be observability and processes focused. So you get a little bit of everything. Talk about migrations, talk about actual customer use cases. We're actually even bringing our own folks that use Cribl at Cribl to make Cribl products better. I get paid by the word Cribl, so I just made $5 right here. That's great. Yeah, we have our product team that's going to come in. They'll talk about how they use Cribl to make changes to our own products and see use metrics and look at our products overall, product portfolio overall. We have a capture the flag esque Jeopardy style activity. That was a tough one as well during the happy hour. So you get to basically live a day in the life of a Cribl user, which obviously folks here, most of them are, but you guys get to challenge each other. You are competing for kick-ass, amazing trophies. Not saying we have the best trophies, but I'd love to see somebody else that has them better. We'll have goats, that's y'all. We'll have drinks, we'll have food. We'll have amazing games, and that's going to be all on June 10th. Now, if you can't make it on the 10th, but you are still in Las Vegas, I don't know why you'd be there. I don't know, to go see Rich's presentation across the street. That's right. Can also join us on the 11th and 10th. Sorry, wow, I'm going backwards. The 11th and 12th at the Win. So we'll be a little bit closer to that other conference right down the street. All you have to do is register on the website, CriblCon.cribl.io. And yeah, I'm going to stop there. And I'm going to switch over just so that folks, so right now, everybody's at CriblCon.cribl.io. They are there. You can see there's a bunch of information. You see the agenda, sessions, right? We have great customers. We have keynotes from our, if you haven't seen the Between Two Fern episode, our 3 Fernders are going to be on stage, as well as Abby. Yeah, we just have a great, I think, I'm super biased, but I'll say it, I think we have an amazing conference that we put together. And if you aren't there, I'm going to be sad. I'm already sad because Tony only shows up like halfway throughout the week, and I was going to high five and hug him, but that's yeah, that's.
Oh, you're getting bear hugs still. Don't worry.
Hey, he's a hugger. He'll take care of you there.
Yeah, so I'll stop sharing just so I can go back and see the chats if there were any questions. If there's no, I don't know about goat milk, Crystal. It's you know, hotels and their catering departments. But I would say I'd bring some, but I also don't want curdled goat milk in my hotel room. That'd be weird. But also one of our favorite user community PS Goat is going to be speaking as well. So Eugene is getting up on stage. We are tapping into his brain and his beard.
Your beard is longer.
Yeah.
I've been working in it.
I'm gonna
Yeah.
say,
You can't shave it. Sorry, you need it. If you shave it,
Oh, yeah.
you're not eligible to be.
Any beard oil and mustache wax is already being expensed as a work.
excellent.
and
Good.
so, yeah.
Good thinking.
Yeah, I mean, if you have goat milk infused beard oil, Eugene definitely wants to use it. So.
All right.
He doesn't. And also, if you have any questions, I am in the community. There's a CriblCon channel in the community. If you have ideas, anything you want to bring up, you can tag me. I am all ears. I don't know if it can happen this year, but I will try my hardest to make it happen and to make sure that everybody is taken care of. Everybody is at CriblCon. And yeah, we get to meet, shake hands, ask questions. I'm telling you, we're bringing all the experts. We're going to be there. So, yeah.
All right. And there is yeah, I'm sure somebody's going to dig you up the link for the new Syslog Load Balancing docs. So, all right. I think we have now come full circle. A relatively short session, although jam-packed as usual with all kinds of goodies in it. I did want to also mention, I have not had time to plan it yet, but there's still a possibility of another D&D game at CriblCon or environs.
Ooh, let's talk.
I was getting pinged on Slack about that, so
Yeah, I have.
definitely I already know one person that's willing and wanting to join.
Perfect. Yeah, so we'll I am so busy for the next week and a half until Memorial Day because my oldest daughter's graduating high school and we're having a big party. So but right after that I should be picking this up and starting to figure out what to do and when we can do things and so ooh, look.
Eugene's ready to go.
I can't wait till she's my boss.
All right, yeah, I don't even have my dice bag with me because it's back over there, you know, ready to go for my D&D session. So, but anyway, I think that is it. So,
Well, I'll tell you one final thing. We're doing a maintenance release tomorrow, so you'll get 461, which is going to have a new Wiz source with our partnership with Wiz. It's going to get, if you're a cloud customer, you're going to have a couple more orgs you can launch into. You're going to be able to do Canada, Australia, and Ohio. And then a little thing called Search Dataset Acceleration. But you'll learn more about it tomorrow. So watch for the announcement.
fun. Alrighty, and as always, we're always looking for people to give a little talk, you know, have a session, have a, you know, something, whatever you want to do, something you'd find that's neat or something you've recently implemented, something you have recently implemented or that, you know, Cribl's recently implemented and you just implemented and, you know, tell us about the pitfalls you ran into and what things worked well. I mean, I'm sure most things worked great, but you know, sometimes there's little gotchas. Anyway, so if anybody has any thoughts, just contact me or Chris or whoever, you know, just poke around for a while. You'll find us. Alrighty then. I think we can give everybody back about 23 minutes of your day then. That's always handy. Go take a break. Have some lunch.
Thank you.
Thanks all.
Absolutely. See you guys.